Hello and welcome to Improbable Things. I am J. Grace Pennington and this is my podcast where I share 6 improbable things before breakfast. So today it is about 7:30 on Monday morning and I have been up for quite a while and I will explain why in a minute. But first I want to get started on my list of 6 things for today. So number 1 on my list is that last night I finished my book Firmament, which is book 7 in the Firmament series. And I've been working on it for a few years now. It's a book that has really excited me in general, but the last few chapters of it have been really difficult. That's the main part that has taken me a very long time to get through. So the past week or two, I've been working on just wrapping up those last chapters, and last night I sat down and just hammered out the last, might have been 1,500, 2,000 words, I'm not sure exactly, but wrote all that out, and it felt great. I was really excited to have that finished, but the reason maybe you think there's not much excitement about it in my voice is going to be number 2 on my list. So this part of the saga of this book is hopefully still in progress, but I'll just start at the beginning. This morning, I got up early. This is the first day of NaNoWriMo, so I'm thinking I'm gonna get an early start, get a bunch of words in, it's gonna be great. But first, I think, I'm gonna send this draft of Eleftheria to my first beta reader and just kind of get that ball rolling. He can start reading it, I can have feedback, when I'm ready to start working on it again. So I write an email, go to attach it, can't find it, try to figure out why. It turns out the version of Dropbox that I have on my computer is kind of a weird version. You can't really save things to or from it. Anyway, I think it's like a student version. It's weird. My new computer it came in a student mode and you had to disable that. Anyway, it's a whole thing. So anyway, I realize this and I go, okay. So I save, any open files that I have, get out of them, delete that version of Dropbox, download the normal version. And great, go to attach the file of this draft to my email, to my reader. And it says, since this file is 0 bytes, it cannot be attached. And I'm thinking, it's a glitch in the email. I go to the file, nope, 0 bytes, can't open it, says it doesn't exist. And I just, of course, start to absolutely panic. And just so I don't take you all on the roller coaster journey with me too much, I will say that where this saga is at now is I've managed to recover an old version of the file from before I started working on it the past couple weeks. So it doesn't have about the last 6,000 words, which is rough, and I'm still trying to recover that. I'm looking into some different things. I'm posting on the Dropbox forums, trying to figure out what's gone wrong, trying different recovery software, etc. I'm not very technical, so this is a challenge for me. But I am really grateful that at least I was able to recover most of it. About 40,000 words of it is safe. And honestly, if I had not been able to recover that much, I was kind of at this point, I know it's still right after this trauma, but I was kind of like, okay, I'm done with the Firmament series. I am not rewriting this entire book completely from scratch. Like, there's no way I'm doing that. But anyway, so we'll see how it goes. At least I do have most of it. I'm not going to try to rewrite those last bits right now. I'll give it a rest, see what I can recover. If I need to rewrite the last couple chapters, I'm okay with doing that. I just need to give it some time to get over my trauma. So that's what I've been up to this morning instead of writing new words on my Nano story. So all that aside, just being honest with you about where my writing is this morning, not where I thought it was going to be. But I'll go ahead and share number 3 on my list for this morning. So I woke up very early this morning, just had a headache and couldn't sleep. And that's when I thought I'm gonna start working on my Nano book. So while I haven't actually written any words because of what I've already described to you. I did actually get a lot of research in, just kind of still in bed, going over different things, so that I'm still deciding how much I'm going to share while I'm in the writing process of this new story. But I can tell you that the book is called Shows, and a lot of it takes place in kind of a Christian recovery program type setting. And so I've been trying to figure out whether that should be, so I personally have been through one of these programs at my old church, and that program was called Regeneration. Really wonderful program. Highly recommend it to anyone who's going through anything whatsoever. But I wasn't sure. I thought, well, that's probably not as familiar to a lot of people, so maybe I should change the setting to Celebrate Recovery, which is pretty similar. So I was kind of doing some research to see how similar is that, what are some of the differences, and then that kind of led me back to the Regeneration program, thinking maybe I should just set it in that, because I have, complete knowledge of that since I've actually been in that setting. But then, I'm wondering about copyright issues or whatever, so maybe I just need to create my own fictionalized version of a 12-step Christian recovery program. So I'm not sure, but it did help just to kind of immerse myself into that, remind myself of some of the different steps and different things about those programs. So I do think that research was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and just set it, basically in the program that I've already been through, and just, work out the details later. This is just a first draft, so I am grateful I was at least able to get some of that research done, even though I haven't written any words yet. And on that note, on number 4, I'm still trying to figure out how I can work on fitting this writing for this month in with my baby and my kids and all this stuff. And so I think that's mostly is going to involve trying to write early in the morning before they're up. I can write a little bit while they are up, but honestly, I don't like to do that, because I just find that if I'm trying to write and they're around, then I'm just going to get impatient and frustrated because I feel like they're interrupting what I'm doing, and that is not what I want. What I want is for them to come first. My writing is always going to come second to them. And so sometimes, if they're really happily occupied and the baby's sleeping, I might get a little writing in, but I don't want that to be my focus. I want to be able to be interrupted by them and anything they need, and not be getting frustrated with them, because my main goal and calling is always going to be them and taking care of them. So that said, probably going to mainly be writing in the mornings, maybe at night, although I'm very tired then, or during nap time. So now to just move on a little bit from all of my writing drama, I thought for number 5, I'd share a little more of my currently reading thoughts. So in addition to Atlas Shrugged, right now I'm reading a book called The Last Anniversary by Liane Moriarty. I've read most of her books in about the past year. Very mixed bag. Some of them I've really loved, one of them I really hated, and some have kind of fallen in between. I would categorize this one as an in-between one. I kind of wonder if it's maybe her second book, because I read her first book about a year ago, and you could tell it was her first book. It was not good, honestly, but you could see promise, and I think I've seen that promise realized in her later books. But this kind of has a similar unpolished feel to it, although not as bad, and I have been enjoying it, although some of the worldview is so different from mine that can just bug me a lot as I'm going through. But just from a writing standpoint, I can see that there's definitely improvement from her first book, but still not quite up to speed on as far as some of the later books that she wrote. So, but what has been striking me as I'm reading through this book, and this is definitely true of her other works as well, is the mystery aspect. And I honestly didn't even think of her books as mysteries across the board until I started reading this one. And then I was thinking about the mystery and how well she draws out the suspension and makes you want to know the answers and the solutions and the truth to everything that's going on, and how much that pulls you in. And then I was thinking back over her other books and realized they're really all mysteries. Like, because they're kind of women's books, I kind of had categorized them in my mind as romances, but thinking back on them, it just makes me realize, well, there's romance in them. The focus is really on the mystery. Like, they're really women's mysteries, and maybe that's obvious to other people, but just when I think of mystery, I think of Sherlock Holmes or something along those lines. But these definitely are mysteries, and she is very good at revealing and hiding and drawing you in, like I said. But so I'm just at the point in the book, I'm almost done with it, and I'm at the point where the big central mystery of the book is finally revealed. And it's really got me thinking, because she did such a great job the whole rest of the book, where she would give you a little hint here, and somebody would drop a little, like, start a sentence they shouldn't say, and then go, oh no, I can't tell you that. Or you would see a snippet of a flashback from someone's perspective, and you don't know whose perspective it is, and constantly drawing you in, and constantly just revealing a tiny glimpse, and then pulling back and not letting you see the full picture, just letting you see tiny little dots, and not having enough to connect them, but really wanting to, because it's constantly asking these questions and just not quite answering them. But of course you do have to eventually answer the questions, and in this case, in the book The Last Anniversary, I personally have found the revelation a little bit of a letdown. Not awful, but just kind of, once it was revealed, instead of making me more intrigued, or instead of making me excited, it just kind of made me go, oh, okay, that makes sense, I guess. Like, it wasn't exciting to me. It didn't really, for me anyway, live up to the expectation I had, where I've spent this whole book wondering what's going on, and then it's revealed, and it was all right, but it just, some of it fell a little flat for me, some of it didn't strike me as completely realistic, and it just didn't draw me in. Like, it didn't compel me, I guess. Like the mystery had been way more compelling than the actual answer. So it's just got me thinking a lot about mysteries, and there's a mystery element to most of the Firmament books, so it makes me want to just think about that and how I can avoid that letdown for people in my writing. And I don't really have a quick answer for that or anything, but it also makes me remember when I was going through the one-year adventure novel curriculum, which is an absolutely amazing program. Highly recommend it. The creator of that program, Daniel Schwabauer, also one of my very favorite authors, shares that when you are reaching the resolution of a story, basically what you want to do is give the audience what they want, give the audience what they expected, but not in the way they expected it. And I don't know that that's always easy to accomplish, but I think it's great to keep in mind, because if you don't give someone what they expect, then obviously they're going to be disappointed. But if you give it to them in the exact way they expected it, then that's not interesting. You want something that can surprise you. So don't really have clear answers on all of that, but just some thoughts that I was having this morning and thought that I would share. So number 6 on my improbable things this morning, I thought I'd expound a little on the Sterling quote that my podcast name comes from. The quote that says that fantasy is the impossible made probable, and science fiction is the improbable made possible. And like I mentioned in an earlier episode, I just love this quote and how sort of simply and yet broadly it defines those two things and what the difference is between them. And so I thought I would just explain a little bit how I interpret that. Because fantasy is really all about the supernatural. It really is about things that are completely outside of our experience, outside the natural realm. There's some kind of magic or miracles or something that it does not happen in our world and never could. And that's why it's completely impossible. And you're making it probable by presenting it to the reader in a way that they can believe, even though they know that it could never happen.